Welcome to a game between Yanom in blue, starting with spiders and a recon commander. And he's facing off against a TrueDarkMasta with rovers and an engineer commander. So Yanom wondered what he could have done differently in a matchup like this, where he faces rovers as spiders. And yeah, let's see how he starts this. He starts, this map has a lot of equate start, so 3.5 mexes. That's one reason you probably want to choose an recon commander on this map, because in order to spend that metal, you need to also build a lot of like solar collectors or wind generators. And the extra 12, it has 12 build power, engineer commander, and a recon commander only has 8 build powers. So by choosing the recon commander on this map, you can get a bit behind. And yeah, you can see here this 3.5 mexes. Yeah, you need to build at least one more solar collector to actually be able to spend that metal. And he's also going pretty defensive with the loads turret, while also making a venom. So yeah, he's being pretty defensive here and has a pretty slow start. Yeah. He scouts the enemy and sees the rovers. Like most raiders wants to have a problem with against flea harassment. If the enemy goes for what do you call it? If the enemy goes for ducks and amphipods, yeah, the enemy can struggle a bit to actually make use of those. It looks like you will get a kill here, so you didn't manage to do anything with your raiders. You probably need to stay in range here if you want to finish them off, but you're gonna take a bit of damage, but you need to make sure that the Scorcher doesn't run off. And this is one of the problems with Venoms. Like in a situation like this, you have a Venom, it will still take a lot of damage before it's able to kill it, and then you probably need to repair it to be effective. Going spiders on this map, I don't like it too much. Like spiders are kind of slow. Venom is fast, but it's also, you have to be like good in how you use it. You can go spiders on this map, but yeah, you usually have to depend on the Venom. So yeah, it depends on how you play it. Also, as you're facing fencers in this matchup, that's kind of annoying to deal with. Are you paying attention here? You could jump against that Scorcher and kill it. Yeah. So the enemy is advancing with fencers here. You catch one fencer out of position and you try to micro there. But meanwhile, you're not paying attention to your commander. You could have jumped and faced off that Scorcher. You could jump against the fencer and kill it. Yeah, you're doing that now. But you were distracted over there. So yeah, you're kind of losing this position. You lost a lot of mexes kind of unnecessarily. Yeah, it can be a bit hard to fight against fencers. Meanwhile, yeah, now your commander is out of position, but you got that fencer at least. So yeah, in this situation, fleas, they struggle to do much against fencers, they struggle to do much against scorchers and darts. So you're probably better off depending on venoms than fleas for raiding and stuff. Having a few darts to keep track of the enemy is pretty good. Yeah. So yeah, what's the plan going from here? You make a lot more fleas here, and the enemy has even chosen to do a Ripper to defend his fencer, I guess. That's a pretty strong push, but also a bit slower. Meanwhile, are you out expanding him? Yeah, you're slightly out expanding him, so yeah. We see the total metal produced here. You're starting to get ahead, but he was ahead before. Yeah. So you're doing some scouting and raiding here, trying to do some raiding, but it's kind of hard to do against fencers and lotus turrets. Yeah. So what late game combo do you want to go for here? Recluse have a disadvantage of being outraged by fencers, so you usually will struggle to actually deal with fencers with just Recluse. Hermits are actually pretty good in this matchup. Like if you get a matchup like Venoms are pretty good early game, but then they kind of fall off. It can be hard to like defend big pushes and stuff like that, and defend against enemy riots like Rippers. But Hermes is an excellent unit. It has enough HP with 1550 HP. It can soak up damage from defensors and riots, and then you can either have like Venoms or Recluse to like deal the damage and deal with fast units. I mean, Hermes has decent damage on their own. They can just struggle to hit raiders and such. But once you get enough density, yeah, a few Venoms in there or Redback, yeah, that's good enough. You can mostly depend on Hermits for that. So yeah, in this situation, I'd probably recommend going for, instead of Recluse, I'd recommend going for Hermits. Like, Recluse can abuse the cliff somewhat, like they can be on the low ground and fire up onto the cliffs without return fire. But Hermits, they can just hide and surprise defenders and push them away, so yeah, I find it easier to abuse Hermits on a map like this. Since Recluses are kind of fragile and you're afraid to lose them. Yeah. Getting a forward stinger is a pretty good idea. It will make you be able to hold against fencers, so that I like. Like this map, it has basically two routes where you want to push and expand, here and here. And the fencer at each of these positions is pretty good against rovers. So that will probably force them to, yeah, reconsider their approach. Yeah. But you didn't quite get it up in time. So yeah. You're taking a bit of damage here. Yeah, what's your approach? Yeah, if you don't want to go for heavy venom raiding, yeah, you should probably depend on Hermits. In this situation, when you're facing fencers and rippers, it's hard to do much against them because the recluses they lose straight up against fencers, and the rippers should protect the fencers against like redbacks and stuff. You would have to kill the rippers out of range of the fencers to be able to deal with attacks like this cost effectively. So now the enemy is just pushing in towards your base, and they're making, yeah, they're not making that much cost. Yeah, like if you're going on the flanks, yeah, you can usually pincer the enemy. That's why the middle is less important on this map. Like you can usually pincer the enemy in the middle with your whole forces, which gives you a bit of an advantage if the enemy tries to go for a base push like this. But yeah, since you're struggling to deal cost effectively with these fencers, you're taking quite a bit of damage. But that's the thing, if you had Hermits instead of Recluses, they would be able to go in and soak up damage from the Rippers and the Fencers and just clean up here. Instead you gotta like lose a few units and stuff like that. So yeah. If we look at the mental income here, we can see that, yeah, the enemy is starting to get ahead, but you still have a bit more, so to speak. So you cleaned up that attack. You could say that the TrueDarkMasta overcommitted a bit. Would this be a good situation to abuse your Recluse? Ah, the Stinger can just about fire above this little cliffside. So yeah. Or you lost a Recluser. I mean, Reclusers are expensive. They're basically like 2 fencers. But yeah, now you secure some positions. This is quite defensive. If you can get it up a bit more forward, that could have been nice, so you protect this as well. And there's a Stinger here. Stinger and fencers, yeah. It's really hard to kill a Stinger cost effectively with Recluses, so that's a big no-no. And now your Recluses are walking off. Yeah, that's the thing, you have to be careful with Recluses. They can easily walk off again, try to chase the target and lose against a stinger. So yeah, recluses also struggle against stingers in turn. Yeah, and you can see here, yeah, you have a, I think you have a bigger army here. Yeah, you have a bigger army here. Well, but you still struggle to kill these fencers cost effectively, because yeah, the fences will counter your recluses decently well. And if you only have like redbacks and recluses to try to counter it, they're not squishy with venoms and redbacks, but yeah, you're still gonna take damage, and the fences will probably win, especially with the help of the rippers. So yeah, you can see how the tables turn, and yeah, you can see that the value kill just starts to soar for TrueDarkMasta in that situation. Even though you had a bigger army in that position, you still were losing, because the fencers out simply, yeah, they counter recluses fairly well. Now you start to switch into hermits. This is a bit too few hermits for this situation. You may want to make sure you have a mass of hermits. Yeah, the enemy is just pushing in the middle, and you have all these units over here, build some defense there. Yeah, it seems a bit too late, like you lost a bit too many units before you switch to hermits. And now you're trying to go for a crab as well. Like, crab is pretty good against rovers, it's just kind of stationary, so like one crab, that's almost 11 hermits, so yeah. Could you have defender here if you made 10 hermits instead of a crab? Probably, maybe. You were losing quite a few units before that. So yeah, I think that crab might be able to defend, not quite. It might just die. Yeah, you lost your other units, so you don't have much follow-up. Will you lose the crab? Just barely. Yeah, and now the enemy has an overwhelming advantage, I say. Yes, fences are tricky to deal with for spiders in many situations. And it looks like the TrueDarkMasta was able to do that. Even though, like, if you look at the metal use here, you were always a bit ahead on metal used. But the TrueDarkMasta was still able to use his fencers cost effectively in the end there. So yeah, that's a thing that's tricky to deal with for spiders. Hermits are kind of slow, so if you go for hermits too early, you might get out flanked by scorchers and other units that are fast, and fencers can still retreat against hermits. So yeah, it can be a tricky situation to deal with, but I wouldn't recommend recluse. I'm not sure is there any combo you really want to use recluse against? I'm not, dominatrix maybe, but then again, hermits are so cheap that if you have like a massive hermit and some redbacks or venoms in that mix, you can kill, yeah, you can, like, those are good enough to deal with anything small and raiders and stuff. And you can just let the mass of the hermits push forward and reclaim behind towards your commander and your cons or something. Flea harassment is kinda tricky to do against rovers. The dart kinda is pretty good against it. Scorchers are pretty good against it. Yeah, fences are good defense against it as well. So yeah, you just want a few like darts to keep the enemy in toes. Venom can be good to raid with. You get some fast units out, and the enemy can struggle to like keep up with the venoms. That can be quite difficult for rover play to deal with if you come from unexpected angle using cliffs and such. So yeah, that's my tip for you. Don't depend on recluse against the rovers. Yeah. Good luck and have fun.